Okay. Anne's gone. I'm not quite sure where, but we're on time, so we start. Oh, it's on streaming now. So, are there any apologies for the meeting, the council?
Yes, we have apologies from councillors Al Sanjari and Ramuni, and from the town clerk, who's dealing with an urgent issue at home.
Okay, thank you. Next, have we any declarations of interest?
Excuse me, you need to do the town forum before we start on the agenda.
Yeah, can't went straight into the meeting.
Yes, there are 2 attendees, external attendees.
Oh, now there wasn't when I looked.
Yeah, there's Robin Horskins and our regular Michael.
Are there any questions from for the town forum?
There's no hands up there, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we'll progress to the meeting proper now and pick up and start again. We've got the apologies, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? None? Okay, we'll move on. The minutes of the council meeting held on the 8th of December. Are there any observations or comments as regards to these minutes? Any questions from them?
Councillor Chadwick has a hand up, Chair.
Chadwick.
Yes, hello. Yes, it's on page 8, item 44, where it's talking about the minutes of the urgency committee on the 5th of October. The first paragraph sounds as if the survey hasn't been distributed yet, and the second paragraph sounds as if the survey has been distributed and they're working on the results, sort of thing. So I just wondered, is that consistent?
I think it was in flux at the time, but I'm not exactly sure what the status was. Does
I can answer that.
Yes,
I can answer that.
over to you, Lynn.
In the minutes in the meeting, the survey had been distributed, but the second paragraph relates to the actual question that was asked in the council meeting when the report had been or was in the process of being prepared. But that question was asked after the meeting, of which those were the minutes.
Right, okay, so
Oh.
because they're minutes, you've got to go back in time, and at the time we were between the two.
Right, okay, thank you.
And Councillor Nagra has his hand up, Chair.
Oh, I can't see him at the moment. Oh, there's Councillor Nagra. Yeah, you're muted, Councillor Nagra.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now so.
Yes. So from page number 5 to page number 10, after every agenda item, there is a detail of votes, like votes in favor, votes against, and votes absent. Deborah, I need your advice about this. Kindly check section order 1, subsection I, page 4.
Sorry, I don't understand your question.
I'm saying that on minutes from page number 5 to page number 10, after every agenda item, there is a detail of voting, like number of votes in favor, against, and absent.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm asking, kindly check section order 1, subsection I, page 4, line 6.
of which document you're referring to? Standing orders or something?
Standing orders, yes.
Yeah, you didn't say that. So
Can you
what's your
tell me
point?
what it is that you're after there, Councillor Nagra? I'm looking at the standing order, but I'm not sure what.
Standing order number 1.
Yep.
It's page 4.
Yep.
Line 6, subsection I, line 6. If you read this, there are 2 conditions to record the voting according to this one. Number 1, it can be done at the request of a councillor. Number 2, this request shall be made before moving to the vote on the question. And I have checked recording of previous meeting. This type of request is not made by any councillor. So I request to correct these minutes according to this section order 1.
I think I might be able to help there. I think that the request for a recorded vote is in relation to a specific councillors, the way a specific councillor has voted, as opposed to the number that may have voted in favour or against a particular item. Linda,
Yeah,
is that correct?
That's what it's written in this order, that it can be recorded. Number 1, if it's requested by any councillor. Number 2, this request is made before voting, not after voting. And I have checked recording, no such request was made.
No, and that request would be for a specific councillor to have their vote, the way that they voted, recorded, as opposed to just a record of the number of votes on anything. So that's just there to be helpful and to show that we did actually record the number of votes for and against, because that's been a more accurate way to reflect the voting on those items.
No, that's what I was asking, that I have checked recording. No such councillor made any request, and it should be, this request should be made after each and every agenda item, not as a whole.
Are you?
Mr. Mayor, can I add something, please? I think Councillor Negra is slightly misunderstanding. The key words are the line, the penultimate line of that paragraph, so as to show whether each councillor present and voting gave his vote for or against that question. That's each councillor, which is a recorded vote. So it would be Councillor Nagra, yes, no. Councillor Baker, yes, no. That is a recorded vote, and it's standard practice. We've all used it, even your party's used it, to say that we want on record what each individual councillor votes. It's not to do with how many people vote.
Yeah, that would be my understanding.
No, I don't agree with this explanation. It's clearly written, the voting on any question shall be recorded. Word is recorded, as to show whether each councillor present and voting gave his vote. And then it's written, such a request shall be made before moving to the, there are 2 conditions, not 1.
Yes. Obviously, you have to request that there's a recorded vote before the vote is taken.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But this on this occasion, there wasn't a request for a recorded vote, but you're still, it's axiomatic actually that you count the votes and you document the result.
Then why these were not documented in previous full council meetings? It is first time. You can check previous minutes. These are available online. In this council meeting, there is voting detail after each and every agenda item, but it was not done in other council meetings.
I don't think that we are required to do the same thing on each and every occasion. Sometimes we record the vote and the count of the votes.
What's reason that we have a different trend in previous meetings and we have a different trend this time?
If I could maybe help, because we we haven't always done that as a matter of course, but because we've been asked for it so often, because certain councillors want to record that they abstained, so we have started to do that more often. We didn't do it always in the past. It wasn't requested. It's been requested so often that that's what we're doing. If councillors don't want us to do it, then it doesn't have to be recorded. But if I don't record it, I will be asked to record it. So,
Chairman, sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I draw your attention to Standing Order 16C? 16C, and I'll quote it. Every question shall be put and answered without discussion, but the chairman to whom a question has been put may decline to answer. That, to me, is quite clear. A question has been asked by Councillor Nagra. It's been answered with a discussion. Therefore, we should be moving on.
No,
Yeah.
no, no,
Quite
sorry.
clear. Excuse me,
Excuse
me,
me.
Councillor Nagra.
You
I am
excuse me.
I
You
am
read-
talking to you.
You read these
Hang
lines
on.
again.
Hang on.
You read
Please-
these lines again.
Please respect.
I'm respecting,
Please
but you are
respect your fellow councillors. 16C quite clearly says every question should be put, and you put your question several times. It's been answered by the Deputy Town Clerk, by the committee officer, and by the leader of the council without discussion. Mr. Mayor, we should move on to the next.
Yes, I agree. So we'll move on.
Councillor McCann.
Councillor
has his hand up.
McCann has his hand up, Chair.
Sorry,
Councillor
Councillor
McCann has his
McCann.
hand up, Chair.
I can. Oh, hi.
Good evening. I do understand the point that the leader is making about 16, Standing Order 16, but the point has been raised about, are we going to now continue this? I'm quite happy for it to be continued. I think it actually helps members, but I believe the question behind the question that was asked is, why has this been introduced suddenly? I think the committee officer has actually explained that it's actually probably easier for the administration to actually record that than constantly recording in other formats. But each and every member's vote will be recorded off of minutes anyway. But if we're going to keep this on, I think that's quite a reasonable way of doing it, bearing in mind how fractious some of these meetings can become, especially if you're constantly interrupted by the leader of the council. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. That was a helpful comment. So we can now move on. I've forgotten exactly where we got to. Did we accept there are no amendments to the minutes?
We need to go to the vote, Mr. Mayor.
To vote to,
We accept there are no amendments required. So do we accept the minutes? Can I have a show of hands, please? Those in favour of accepting the minutes?
Okay, that's 14.
I didn't see any of them. So,
I can call them out.
okay. Those against accepting the minutes?
bear with me just a moment, Chair. I've just lowered hands, so if you could ask for that vote again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Vote against.
Those against accepting the minutes?
It was 2 and it's gone down to 1. Does anybody? I've got 1. Does anybody else want to raise their hand? No, that's 1 then.
Okay, any abstentions?
I wasn't at the meeting, so
That's 2.
Okay. 2 abstentions, right, okay. Right, oh, come on, turn over, 1 page. Right, we now move on to the committee reports. Planning committee will be Councillor Wicks. Can you present the minutes of the meeting, Councillor Wicks?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Can I ask you to receive the minutes of the Planning and Communities Committee, which was held on the 5th of January, and that is on page 15 to 22 of your agenda. Happy with that? Thank you.
Okay. Can we receive the minutes then and resolve to the minutes as presented? Those in favour?
That's 16.
Okay. Those against? Sorry, those against?
Sorry, can you raise your hands again if you're against, please? That's none. No against.
Okay, any abstentions?
One. Oh, two.
2.
No abstentions.
Those 2 abstentions, Chair.
You got everything you need, Linda?
Yes, I've got that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then we move on to the Leisure Services Committee meeting of the 12th of January. Councillor Bragg is present the Leisure Services Committee minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to present the minutes of the meeting of the Leisure Services Committee that was held on the 12th of January for your approval. If anyone has any questions.
If there are no questions, then can I have a vote to receive the minutes, please? Those in favour of receiving them?
That's 13.
Michael's got his hand up. Linda, did you see
Okay,
that?
that's 14.
That's
Can you
14.
tell me then, because I can't see his hand. So that's
Sorry, yes, I
14
missed that as well. I'll try and keep an eye on that, Linda. Thanks.
Those against?
No one.
Okay, any abstentions?
That's 5.
5 abstentions, okay. There's a bit more work to do here. We're moving on to the strategy and resources.
Sorry, excuse me, Chair. I have a few questions about this, but discussion is not allowed when you formally start this resources committee. So can I ask those questions now? Because during this committee, I asked this question, but I didn't get any straight answer and I was not allowed to ask supplementary questions.
Is it regarding the Leisure Services Committee?
No, this one, resources committee one.
Oh, right, and the one we're about to open.
Yes, so when you open, then obviously I can't ask questions because debate is not allowed. So that's why I want to ask it now, if you allow.
No, we allow Councillor Baker to present the minutes first, and then there is an opportunity to answer questions.
So is discussion allowed? Because then only we can discuss about only accuracy of minutes.
Well, you can ask questions about the minutes.
Okay, I can ask question which then leads to discussion. I am allowed to ask that question.
I don't know until you get there and I hear the question, but Councillor Baker has been invited to present the minutes first.
Okay.
We're going to do that next.
In answer to Councillor Nagra's, no, the only comments and discussion or comments can be is about, he's right, about the accuracy of the minutes.
Yes.
The time to have the discussion was at the meeting, and as Councillor Nagra has confirmed, he had that discussion. Unfortunately, he didn't like the answers. He disagreed with the answers, but nevertheless, we had that discussion. This is about the accuracy.
No,
So-
it's not a question of about my likeness or not likeness. Due to time shortage, I was not asked to. I was not given opportunity to ask supplementary question. That's what
I'm
I'm
sorry, that is not part of this meeting, and I'm not going to allow it.
asking.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I present you with the minutes of the Strategy and Resources Committee held on the 19th of January between pages 29 and 43. And as we go through, there are various recommendations that full council have to make a vote on. So the first one,
Councillor Baker, are you going to deal with each proposal as you get to them, or all at the end?
no, I will take them in sequence. If that's
Okay.
okay with you, Mr. Mayor, it
Yes,
makes
that's
more
fine.
sense that way.
Councillor McCann has his hand up, Chair. May want to ask a question before we get to the item, I think.
All right, Councillor McCann.
Yeah, can you please just clarify? We have recommendations before this council. Is your ruling to say that we cannot discuss the recommendations? We just go straight to the vote. Is that what you're saying, or are you saying that? Or can just clarify? Or are you saying that we can discuss each of the items, whether or not they're sequential is not really the point? I'm sure that we can discuss an item that we are going to be voting on. It is not an accuracy. It has been coming before us for a vote.
Yes.
Can you just clarify that, please?
Vote on it, and then it's fine to discuss it, I think. But you can't start by saying we're going to rehold the previous meeting in this venue.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you.
I would agree with that, Mr. Mayor. I think that's the common sense approach. So the first one is the Risk Management Working Party, page 30, item 54. You have copies in it, but you've also been given, can you see this? In your pack, you would have given the strategic register. So the recommendation is to adopt the 21-22 risk management strategy as amended, attached in at Appendix C. So are there any questions on this, or can I ask the Mayor to go straight to the vote? I can't see anything. Linda, can you see
No,
anybody?
there's no hands
Right.
up.
So can we go straight to the vote? Mr. Mayor, can you go straight to the vote on that item 154, please?
Okay, item 54, can I have a show of hands for those in favour of the resolution?
Councillor Forrer has his hand up as well,
Okay,
Linda.
that's 14 altogether then, thank you.
Is that a vote, Mr. Forey, Councillor Forey?
Yes, I've got him. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Can I have votes against the proposal?
That's none.
None, and any abstentions?
That's 5.
5 abstentions, okay. So
So
that
that's
motion
agreed.
carried.
Thank you, full council. The next item is the next one on the same page, item 55, that the 21-22 charges for the Oakwood Centre as set out in the proposed charges 2021-20. Actually, there's a typo there. It should be 2021-22. Linda, appendix be approved. Just a typo there.
Yes, okay, I will correct that. Thank
Okay.
you.
I can recommend this to the full council. They have been frozen, which I think is the right thing to do in response to the COVID hitting people's incomes. I think it's absolutely spot on. So is there anybody who wishes to question or have a debate on these? I can't see anything. Linda, can you?
No
question.
hands are raised.
And can you then, Mr. Mayor, put the question, please?
Can I have a show of hands in favour of the proposal?
Okay, that's 13, including Councillor Forer.
Yeah.
Can I have votes against the proposal?
That's no one.
No one, and abstentions?
That's 5.
5 abstentions.
So that's agreed.
Agreed. Proposal's carried.
Thank you, Council. Moving on to the 55B, which is on the next page 31, that the charges for the Leisure Services in 21-22 are set out in the proposed charges 21-22 appendix be approved. As with the previous recommendation, charges have been frozen. So I think it's absolutely the right thing to do for the benefit of our residents. Is there anybody who wishes to comment or have a debate on this? Is there
No
anything you
hands
say, no,
raised.
Linda? Okay.
No hands are raised.
So, Mr. Mayor, can you go and put the question, please?
The votes for the proposal, recommended proposal. Can I have a show of hands, please?
That's 13, including Councillor Forer.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Votes against?
That's none.
And abstentions, please.
That's 6.
6, right, okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I think that might have changed right at the end.
Sorry, I
Can we-
lowered hands because it stayed at 6 for a while. Would you like to retake that one, Chair?
Yeah, can we have the abstentions again, please?
Abstentions, please. Can I have again?
Okay, that's gone to 7 then, thank you. But that is agreed.
Okay, proposal's carried.
Thank you, full council, for that. So now we move over the next page, which I'm sure there will be a debate on. On page 32, item 57C, that it's to do with the budget and the preset for 21-22. There are 2 recommendations. The first one, that the budget for 21-22 be presented to council for approval. I hope you've all kept your document here that
Yes.
we had previously. And then the second one is at the precept level of £1,293.34, £293,034 for the 21-22 financial year be presented to council for approval. Just before I do that, Mr. Mayor, I would like to just say a few words, since I'm absolutely certain there will be a debate. And also I ask, Mr. Mayor, that all questions and comments go via the Mayor rather than via myself, if that's okay with you, Mayor. That's normal practice. So you control the debate. So this pandemic has caused huge financial issues, stresses to both the town council and residents. And the town council has not been immune for its share of these since March. Unlike many other councils, Woodley Town Council has been incredibly successful in the past in generating income other than from council tax. Almost at a stroke, this was wiped out as the forced closure of our facilities turned off that income stream. The town clerk and a team of key officers have worked tirelessly to manage what many would consider to be unmanageable. They have been unbelievable in their efforts, and they deserve all our thanks for the diligence and determination to sort the finances out. Fast forward to the last few weeks and the creation of the budget and changes in the precept. In these unusual times, it is wise to do unusual things. And in this case, it was to ask residents how much of an increase they would accept next year. Such a consultation is unheard of within the borough, with neither Early or Wokingham town councils or Wokingham Borough Council ever doing this. The response, with 1 in 5 households responding, was absolutely exceptional. And I'd like to thank all the residents who responded. The result of this was that 95.5% of the households said they would accept at least £1.86 increase per month. They also provided a lot of additional feedback, which was fed into the budget setting process. Key comments and our response are as follows. You should reuse reserves to pay for losses. Our answer is that we are doing just that, with reserves funding £123,000 of losses this year and £111,000 of projected losses for next year. Another point was any increase would make things harder in already difficult times. A very strong statement. We agree, which is why the increase is only 56p per month for a Band D house, which is less than a third of what residents said they would be willing to pay. So I urge all councillors to support these 2 recommendations. I hand it over to you, Mr. Mayor.
So the first recommendation is that the budget for 21-22.
Excuse me, Councillor Jewell's got her hand raised. Councillor Jewell.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that. Where you gone?
Well, I'm up top left, but I don't know where you are. So. Can you see me?
Oh, I've got
Anyway,
you right in the middle, sorry.
All right, okay.
My whole screen's just rearranged itself.
Right, lucky you. Okay, thank you very much. First of all, willing to pay. I think that's probably, in inverted commas, nobody's willing to pay more, but they're going to have to. I would like to echo the leader of the council to a certain extent. He looks surprised now, because I think we should thank the staff for the work that they've done. They have found savings as far as they can, and they worked very hard to get to this point. It's a shame that Wokingham Borough haven't worked just as hard. They actually were given money to help town and parish councils, none of which they have passed on to Woodley or any of the town or parish councils in Wokingham Borough. I think they have let the residents of their borough down. They had the money, they could easily have supported towns and parishes, especially those like us that have really suffered from a huge drop in income, but no such support has come. And I really think that should be, they should be ashamed of themselves. There's no good reason for that not to have happened. So just to say that, yeah, savings have been found, and thank you to the staff for all of their work. Thank you.
Is that all you had to say?
Do you want me to say more?
Well, no, I just wanted to know whether you finished or not.
Oh, okay, I finished.
Okay, so we can now go on to the vote that the budget for 21-22 be presented by the council, as presented to the council, be approved. So can I have all those in favour? Michael Forey has got his hand up.
14, including Councillor Foran.
Right. All those against?
That's no one.
No one. Abstentions?
That's 6.
6 abstentions. Okay, that's
So
carried.
that's agreed.
It's agreed. The second point is that a precept level of, I'm not going to read the figure out, but 1.2 million, almost 1.3 million for the financial year 21-22 being presented to the council for approval. So those in favour of accepting that, please raise your hand.
That's 13, including Councillor Forer.
Right. Okay. Those against?
No one.
And abstentions, please.
That's 6.
6 abstentions. So that
That's
carried.
agreed.
Agreed.
And that, Mr. Mayor, concludes the minutes of the Strategy and Resources. Thank you.
Okay, so we now need to vote to receive the minutes as presented. Can I have a show of hands in favour?
Mr. Mayor, sorry, but we were just been discussing looking at item 57, and all of a sudden we've got to the end. I thought we were going to take things in order.
Well, we waited for the Keith to present the paper, and he said that he'd finished presenting. If you have a point.
I do. I'd like to raise an item on item 61, please.
Okay. Which page is that on?
On page 33.
33, I'm going the wrong way.
Do we need to lower hands?
Yeah, Kevin, can you put the hands down? please?
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking for that information.
33. Right. Which item were you talking about?
Okay, I'm looking at page 33, item 61C, and it's the second bullet point
Right.
about improved science for wayfinding. I note the what was decided at the S&R meeting, but it seems to me that this project would be very, very useful, would be something good to happen in Woodley. And I think that we shouldn't just say no, we should say no, but ask that we are involved in some way in getting this.
Unfortunately, that's reopening another meeting. And you're allowed to correct the minutes, but not allowed to debate changes to them.
Okay, wasn't quite debating, I was just adding something to them. So, Mr. Mayor, when can I bring this
matter for strategy and resources to deal with at the next strategy and resources, not for the council.
But what if I'm not allowed to speak at the next S&R meeting, as has happened before?
Sorry?
What if I'm not allowed to speak at the S&R meeting, which is what has happened before?
That's something for S&R. To take it further, you would have to propose a motion, I guess, to the council.
Can I just come in there? Councillor Jewell, you have 2 Liberal Democrat representatives on that committee. So it's perfectly possible for you to make that point through them as members. They have a right to discuss that. And I think I'm not going to prejudge what the committee would say, but my own personal view is I think they would look at it very positively.
Mr. Mayor, I find that is actually stopping me doing my job as a councillor, is having to speak through somebody else.
Standing orders prevent us from opening the minutes for further discussion.
Yeah, it wasn't a discussion, it was actually a comment, but if I'm
We're
being
still
stopped
opening
from
the previous,
speaking, then
another
that's
committee
fine.
minutes. And,
Okay, you're stopping for speaking. I understand that.
okay,
Councillor Nagra has his hand up, Chair.
yes, Councillor Nagra, I can't see where you've gone to. Moved around. Oh, there you are, Nagra. Councillor Nagra, did you have something to say? You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Yes, I have a question. It's page 33 and agenda item 64.
Yes.
Yes, first I want to correct Keith Baker. He just said few minutes ago that I didn't like his answer when I asked this question in Resources Committee meeting. So I want to clarify that Keith Baker picked up a paper from his table and he read a motion to exclude the public and press from this meeting. And when I asked him, according to which rule you have proposed this motion, he had no clue. He asked town councillor, then I myself said that, have you done this according to this rule? And he said, yes. So he didn't give any answer. So I want to confirm once again, according to which rule you presented that motion, number one, and number two, show me that rule which allows you as a chairman of committee to present this motion.
Mr. Mayor, it's item 1C. Meetings shall be open to the public unless their presence is prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business to be transacted or for other special reasons. The public's exclusion from part or all of the meeting shall be by a resolution which shall give reasons for the public's exclusion. The motion is voted on and agreed.
Is it on page?
Councillor Nagra, don't try to talk over the top of other people.
No, I'm just asking, is it on page 8?
Yes, you were just asking, but you were shouting down, Councillor Baker.
No, I'm not shouting. I'm just asking page number.
Please control yourself.
It's on page 3. You've asked the question, it has been answered, and therefore there should be no further discussion as per Standing Order 16C.
Yes, but according to my point of view, this resolution, Resources Committee is a standing committee and rules of standing committee are on page 8. You can check from page 8. It's standing order number 5.
Oh, the standing orders, okay.
Yes. Resources Committee is a standing committee and its rules are written according to section order 5 and its clause B.
Right, so you've asked the question, I have answered it. It is 1C. I'm not going to continue. We shouldn't be discussing this as per 16C.
You don't answer my question. I'm
afraid I agree. We're going to move on. Can I have a vote to receive the minute?
Councillor McCann's got his hand up.
All right. Councillor McCann.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I think the points have been made twice now this evening that the leader of SNR, the chair in SNR, is excluding members, and whether or not Standing Order 10 allows members to speak, and then the protocol undermines that, completely negates the point of councillors actually turning up to meetings where bad chairmanship allows the chair to actually exclude members from taking part in discussions. Then when it comes to full council, standing orders disallow members to participate in the conversation about the very subjects that we get elected to represent. So I think what the council, sorry chair, I didn't interrupt anybody.
Sorry,
I think the problem, I'm sorry, Chair, we keep knocking. If you give me a second, please. The council really cannot have standing orders conflicting with its protocol and other processes, and then allowing the chair to, at their own discretion, decide who and who cannot speak. 4 or 5 times in the last full council meetings, members have raised this consistently, and it's because of the stewardship of resources, strategy and resources, that has actually caused this problem. Now, either fix your standing orders so that members can turn up and take part in the democratic process which they are elected to do, or fix the standing orders to say it's down to the leader who decides who can speak and who cannot speak. Otherwise, we're going to be bumbling along doing this for the next 6 months, maybe even the next three or 4 years.
Well,
Mr. Mayor, can I point out that has nothing to do with the minutes?
No, not at all.
It has nothing to do with the minutes, so we should not be debating it.
So I agree with you. So we need to move on to
Councillor Jewell has a hand up again, Chair.
No, I'm not going to take a question from Councillor Jewell until we've moved on. So I want to move on to the vote to receive the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't want standing orders to be correctly applied, then you can ignore me, but it's up to you.
Which standing order are you talking about?
I'm talking about what Councillor Nagwa has been talking about, where we keep referring to Standing Order 1 about for the closing of the meeting to the public, and that's for the full council. The actual standing order that Councillor Baker should be applying is Standing Order 5, and I think that is should be noted.
I'll allow that question, but
Can I respond, please, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Okay. Standing Order 5B. You really should read these if you're going to quote them. 5B. Meetings shall be open to the public unless their presence is prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business to be transacted or for other special reasons. The public's exclusion from part or all of a meeting shall be by a resolution which shall give reasons for the public's exclusion. If that sounds very familiar, it is exactly word for word the same as 1.C.
But it's not 1.
It is 5 points. Okay, we'll have it 5.B. So can we please move on? We've asked these questions. They have been answered more than once, and that is breaking Standing Order 16C. So can we please move on?
so I'll move again to receive the minutes as presented. Can I have a show of hands in favour?
That's 14, including Councillor Forer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can we put all the hands down? Yeah, thank you.
all right, can I have a show of hands for those against?
That's 1.
1. Any abstentions?
Four abstentions, so that's agreed.
Sorry.
Okay. Right. The next minutes are the community and planning committee, planning and community committee meeting of the 26th of January, which will be presented by Councillor Wicks.
Sorry, Councillor Wicks, you're muted there. That was my fault. I think you'd unmuted yourself and I...
Oh,
sorry.
You'll have to start again.
To start again, I can't remember what I said now. Thank you. Right. So may I ask you all, please, to receive the minutes of the Planning and Community Committees meeting, which was held on the 26th of January, and that's on pages 45 to 50 of your agenda. No queries on that? Thank you.
Can I have a vote for those in favour of accepting the minutes? Please raise your hand.
That's 18, including Councillor Forer.
Those against accepting the minutes?
That's no one.
And abstentions?
Two.
Two abstentions, right?
Yeah.
So the minutes are accepted. Now we move on. The next item on the agenda is the leader's statement. Keith, do you have
Thank you,
a statement?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't have an opportunity to make a lot of this content in the last meeting because we ran out of time, but I do want to do it this time around. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. As this is the the final full council meeting of the year, I thought it would be good to look back at the events during the previous 12 months. Before I do that, this is obviously your last meeting, unless there's any emergency ones, Mr. Mayor. Can I put on record my thanks to the way you've conducted these meetings under extremely stressful conditions, which in my history, no other mayor has had to cope with. And I think you've done it very, very well. So thank you for all your work over the last year, and enjoy your holiday almost. So what happened the last year? Well, it's been a bit of a roller coaster year, with the biggest impact obviously being the pandemic, which started in March. The COVID-19 virus hit the country hard and has severely impacted every aspect of our lives. From financial stress, businesses collapsing, job losses, and severe health issues, including untimely deaths. This virus has hit in a way never experienced before since the war. But when such horrendous things happen, it brings out the best in people. And our
Chair,
residents,
excuse me, Chair. Point of order, Chair.
I'm not.
Point of order, Chair.
I'm not.
Point of order, Chair.
I am not.
Standing orders.
There is no.
Point of order, Chair.
Mr. McCann.
Point of order, Chair. Sorry, point of order, Chair.
What's your point of order?
Yeah, I would like to know under which standing order.
Mr. Mayor,
the leader
before
is
he does, can you find out exactly which standing order that Councillor McCann is saying is a point of order, please?
Is it a point of order? You have to quote the standing order.
Yes.
Absolutely. It is members asking questions and talking at meetings. Which standing order allows the leader of the council to make a statement? Under which standing order is the chairman allowing the leader of the council to actually make a statement? That's my question to you. As far as I can see, there is nothing in standing orders that allow the leader to make a statement. Unless the leader can suddenly pick one up, I'd be quite happy to have a look. And if there is no standing order to allow
Councillor McCann, I will give you the standing order. I will give you the standing order. Let me give you the standing order. You've asked me the question. Let me give you the standing order.
No, excuse me, Chair. I didn't ask you the question. I asked the chairman of the meeting the question. I didn't ask you the question. I asked the chairman of the meeting the question.
Fine, I'll answer. It's the leader's statement time, and nothing in any standing order determines precisely what the leader is allowed to say.
Right, can I continue? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it's standing order 1.S7 to receive such communications as the leader of the council may wish to lay before council. I do really wish anybody who wants to play the standing orders game ought to read the standing orders and have some facts. You're just wasting time. So anyway, because I will continue. But when such horrendous things happen, it brings out the best in people, and our residents have been exemplary in this. For example, I manage a group of 200 volunteers who act as a single point of contact for every road in Woodley, all 314 of them. The Facebook group Woodley Volunteers for COVID-19 has a membership of over 1,400. It's actually nearly 1,500 now. Everyone either living in Woodley or has a connection with Woodley. One of the admins for this group has since March collected nearly 80,000 items of food and toiletries for the Woodley Food Bank. These are just a few examples of our great caring community, and I'm sure you all probably know of many others. On behalf of Woodley Town Council and all councillors, I want to put on record our sincerest thanks to the community, to each and every one of those volunteers. At the same time as all those volunteers stepping forward, there has been a huge number of key workers carrying out their normal work, only this time under very difficult circumstances. We have the teachers who have been working throughout, initially just for key workers' children. Then there are the care workers with an incredibly difficult job looking after the most vulnerable in our community. We then have the NHS workers who have definitely been on the front line right from the beginning and have experienced a tremendous amount of heartache as they have nursed their patients through their illnesses. We also need to remember those hidden key workers, the refuse workers, the delivery drivers, the shop workers in food shops, all playing their part in providing essential services. Again, on behalf of Woodley Town Council and all councillors, I want to put on record our sincerest thanks to each and every one of them. Unfortunately, over the last 12 months, and we've seen some of it today, officers have also had to endure a degree of hostility during committee meetings from a couple of councillors, questioning many things. Nothing wrong with asking questions, but the ingression that those questions are asked has been totally unwarranted, verging on bullying. I sincerely hope that this coming year, every councillor treats officers with the respect they deserve. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Here.
Yes, we don't want to descend into realms of a certain parish council, so we'll just move quietly on to Woodley Memorial Ground. And it's just a point to note, which we didn't have time to do in our previous council meeting, that the recreation ground charity was submitted on the 17th of November. We hadn't noted that before and we're required to note it. So please note that. So it's over to Kevin for the next item to consider report number FC 121 on the electrical installation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an item for consideration. This involves a power outage to the grounds yard, a complete loss of power just before Christmas, which upon investigation by initially our own electricians and subsequently by the Southern Electric contractors, appears to be a complete cable fault somewhere along the supply cable from which currently runs from the leisure centre to the yard. It's quite an old system which was put in many years ago, 40 plus years ago. That cable runs right underneath the 3G pitch, that cable run, making it very difficult, actually impossible, to find out where an individual fault on the cable might be to try and then rectify it, and thus it not being a cost-effective way to try and address it. What we have managed to do is come up with a feasible plan, which we've checked out and costed through Southern Electric, which is to run an entirely new feed rather than from the leisure centre as it is at the moment, but from the substation to the rear of the premises at Haddon Drive, which is right by the tennis courts there. It's tucked away, you might not even notice there. And we can run an entirely new cable straight from the substation and directly to the site, which avoids the leisure centre, which has got its own issues in terms of electricity, and would provide a brand new electrical supply with some built-in capacity for a bit of future proofing for the site. And also that cabling would also then belong to and be fully maintained by Southern Electric, as opposed to it just being our problem as it is at the moment. In order to get the cost down, there's some of the work we can do ourselves, which is the excavation for the trenching for the cabling and installation of ducting. There's some costs to that in terms of digger hire. We need more fencing to keep it safe and put crossings in, signage, all that sort of stuff. And we've costed it with the quote from Southern Electric for the work, which is just slightly over £14,500. For them to do the trenching would be massively more expensive because they actually charge on a per meter cost, which is very high regardless of what they're trenching through. Even though most of it's grass, it's actually would knock it way up, and we did get some prices for that when we were looking at the potential for it some time ago, just as something that we were considering doing. So we've managed to keep the cost down there, 14,500 for Southern Electric. From our end, the costs for those things, fencing, electrical box, and digger hire, etc., we're confident we can do within a £5,000 range. But in order to address a couple of unknowns, which might be additional trenching to connect up the street lights, which also run from the same supply down in that area of the park, we've built in another 5,000 just in case it would be needed, rather than have to come back to council and ask for that as well. Obviously, if it wasn't spent, it wouldn't be, it would go back into the pot. And the proposal there is for an allocation for that capital work from the available SIL funding the council has. So if there's any questions there, Councillor Doyle, I can see you have your hand up.
Right, can I just clarify one thing? The proposal is to allocate £25,000 to that.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Thank you, Kevin. I've got two questions I want to raise with regard to this particular item. The first is related to the fact that we allowed the all-weather football pitch to be laid over cabling that went across our site. Do we not maintain as-built diagrams of our utilities within our site so that we can avoid situations like this?
Good question. The plans that we've got are ones that we've kind of drawn up as time has gone by, and we've discovered where things are, because we don't have those from the time when they were put in, which has been an issue both for drainage and for power cables and things, because the records from 40 years ago are not around, basically. So that has been an issue. At the point when the pitch was put in, I think that's probably a fair comment that with some foresight, there might have been an opportunity to have done something different with that cable route. That didn't happen at that time. So that's.
But did we know it was there? Were we aware that the cable was there?
Yeah, we don't have that on a plan or anything. I think we've made on investigation of this problem, we've made an assumption that that's the route that it goes through as being the most direct route from the leisure centre to the site at the time, because there would have been no reason to go any other route than straight through there.
Yeah. Okay. With that in mind, might I suggest, therefore, that any new trenches or new utilities, we maintain appropriate as-built diagrams that give people in the future the opportunity to take account of the fact that there's something under the ground that may be of value to us. That's only a suggestion.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, I'm not teaching people how to suck eggs, but, you know, 25 grand's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know the cable was under the football pitch. Now, the second point that I want to raise is that, new boy again, I always thought SIL money was for the benefit of the community. In this instance, we're spending SIL money on maintaining assets. Is there not a more appropriate budget? I know we've got no bloody money anyway, but is there not another budget area that this money can come from? Because I would have thought the people of Woodley would expect SIL money to be spent on facilities that they can use. No, I don't know. Is that a question to you, Kevin, or
Yeah, I mean, I can probably help a bit. We do have a Buildings and Facilities Fund, which is funded through the Capital Programme, which is a fund that builds each year, and the councils put money into that each year. That is somewhere where potentially things like that could come from. That is the only other place other than it coming directly from reserves, which the council could decide to do. So there are some choices there. In terms of the SIL money particularly, the council is able to spend those monies on the things that it wants to. So that it's not quite like the Section 106 money where it'd be very specific to play or something like that, for example. So there's flexibility in it.
Okay, it's just I would have felt that the community could expect SIL money to come back to them in some form or another, since it is the community that puts up with all the additional housing, isn't it? It's
yeah. I mean, you could argue that the upkeep of the grounds and the council buildings is of a community benefit, but yeah, take your point. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your time.
Anybody else?
Councillor Nagra has his hand up, Chair.
And Councillor, I don't see you, but somewhere you've got your hand up. Oh, Nagra, yeah. Okay, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I just want to know what is process of receiving quotes, because I see there is only one quote. So is there only one quote, or there are other quotes as well?
Yeah, there is. There's only one, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that there's not many people that can actually do the work. And the connection itself has to be done by I can't remember the exact term, but the electrical authority, which is Southern Electric Contracting. So they have to come back, inspect, and do part of the work in any case, regardless, because they're the authority to do that. They're also because they are that authority, they're automatically indemnified and regulated in a way that independent contractors wouldn't be to do the work. So it's there's a risk mitigation there in terms of making sure that that job's done properly, because it's being done by the people who are responsible for inspecting it and signing it off as well.
So although you have said one or two sentences, but just to clarify, is there any clause in this quote that this company is not going to receive final payment unless its work is analyzed and judged by some independent expert?
As I said, they would actually be that expert, and that would be a really strong case for using them to do the work, because they are the electrical inspection authority for the area. There are other contractors who could physically do the work, but they are the government appointed contractor essentially for regulating those in this area.
Oh.
Okay.
Councillor Skegg has his hand up, Chair.
Sorry, and the lost.
Councillor Skegg has his hand up, Chair.
Councillor Skegg, where are you?
I'm over here. Anyway, I think first of all, I think it's worth mentioning that I think Kevin's exploration of ways to keep that cost down should probably be commended. I think there'd be people in his position that would have just got Southern Electric to do the whole job. And having dealt with Southern Electric in the past, I know that's a reasonably challenging prospect. I suppose following on from Councillor Doyle, sorry, here's my question. Following on from Councillor Doyle's query about SIL money, I just wondered, and I think given the circumstances, I'm minded to support this one because there isn't any money and we need to protect those coffers, and it doesn't look particularly optional. I did wonder going forward, is there a council policy around how we use SIL money, or might that be something that we might choose to explore in the future? I just, like I say, Councillor Doyle's comments kind of resonated a bit with me there, and I did think, gosh, it kind of feels like this isn't quite what it's there for, although in these circumstances I will support it, if that makes sense.
Yes, perfect sense.
So yeah, I did want, do we have a policy for SIL money, or is that more of a debate point each time it crops up?
I think I would say that SIL is, as a fund, is less than 2 years old, and we're still getting used to it. And one of those 2 years of experience has been the COVID year. So right at the beginning of the path. I dare say that there is scope for exploring setting policies going forward when we get our heads above water.
I think that sounds eminently sensible. Thank you, Mr. Mann. Thank you, Kevin.
Councillor McCann has his hand up, Chair.
Thank
you. Speak,
thank you very much. My question is, part of your report has an equality impact assessment. It is really quite brief, but is this with regard to the Equality Act? Can you explain why this is in here as your report? First of all, let me make sure you understand. I welcome it being in part of the report. It sort of highlights how many reports we have had just in this agenda where the equality impacts have not been part of the discussion and indeed part of the report. So just sort of touching on that, could you just explain that just a little, please?
Yeah, of course. What I've tried to do in this report and others previously, and perhaps we can look at that in terms of consistency in reports that come through, is that those last three sections there, which are impacts on environment, equality and resources, as something that should flag up on each one. Even if it's brief as it is here, it shows that someone's considered it and looked at it. So that's the reason it's there. And I think, yeah, perhaps we could do more to make sure that's more consistent across the other reports.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor McCann.
Councillor Sohn has his hand up, Chair.
Thank you very much. This is a question I don't know whether you can answer, but it seems to me that you're running this from a substation direct to the workshops. So this is a new supply, which would no doubt be separately metered. Is there likely to be any increase in our ongoing costs because this is an additional contract?
I don't believe so, no. But you're right, it would be a separately metered supply. But the supply itself, so that supply, everything from the substation up to the point of the electrical cabinet in the yard, would belong to Southern Electric rather than ourselves. So in terms of ongoing maintenance and things like that, there wouldn't be an issue, and there isn't an ongoing liability in terms of that.
It's more as if there's a new contract because there's a separate meter.
Oh, I see. Sorry, in terms of supply.
Yes.
Yeah, but what it means is that obviously, in terms of consumption, it will be metered differently, but there shouldn't be any increase in cost for it going forwards. It does mean we can have a much better idea about how much we're using and from where, which at the moment it all just kind of goes into Woodford Park and we split it based on what we think, which probably isn't terribly helpful, really.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Is that everything? Yes. Then can I have a vote to receive to note the report? Don't know whether we really need to read that, but please. Are
we voting on the recommendations, Mr. Mayor?
Vote on the recommendation of 25,000. We received the report to note the report. I think that we've done now. But I need a vote to approve the allocation of £25,000 of seal money to install this this stuff. So those in favour?
Councillor Ferrara is waving his hand.
Yeah, the numbers are still going up. So
yeah.
Okay, that's 20 with Councillor Ferrara.
Yeah.
Okay. Those against?
That's 1.
1 against. And abstentions?
Sorry, I lowered my hand for the previous vote. I wasn't against it.
You weren't against it?
Correct.
Sorry, can we have the votes against again then, please, just to confirm? Okay, so no one is voting against.
Okay, is there any abstentions?
Okay, there are no abstentions.
Okay, thank you. That's approved then. Right, I'll ask Kevin again to Deputy Clerk to present the item from climate emergency.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. So if I can just refer you to page 52, which is Appendix 8, which is the section from the Climate Emergency Action Plan with the current actions on it. There is a bit of movement in some of those, which you can see in blue. Sorry, there's a lot of colours in this one, which is, again, it's just to note some of the progress on there. Some of those will pick up more as some furloughed staff come back to work and things get a bit more back to normal in terms of our initiatives to lower the council's carbon output. The probably one benefit, if you could call it that, of the current situation is that our carbon footprints dropped massively because of the situation with, buildings being closed and people not traveling to work, but that's a small consolation in terms of the scope of things. In terms of the sort of wider picture, we've had a couple of sessions with Wokingham Borough Council where we've attended their request and just provided them with information about what we're doing as an organisation and talking to them about how we can help with the wider plan, so the Wokingham plan, and that itself hasn't kind of moved forward very much. So we haven't had lots of information about how we can play a more of a part in the wider role at the moment. So so that's kind of a snapshot of where things are. So if there's some questions there, Councillor Jewell, I can see you have your hand up.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah, thank you. With regard, I'd just like to say thank you to Kevin for this report. I asked for this summary of what was happening, where we were up to a little while ago, and it's taken some time, I know, for him, but so I'm pleased to see that, and it will be informing the full council as to what is actually happening. I'd like to ask about the meetings that were held at Wokingham Borough. First of all, when those meetings were and what was discussed, and are there any notes? And I'm sorry to take up the full council time in this. We should be, it's the sort of thing we would have dealt with in the Climate Emergency Working Party, but that's only met once in the 16 months since the climate emergency was declared. So it's all being very secretive, in my view, and I know a lot of the things that are happening, discussions at borough level, are secretive as well, or at least not being publicised, whichever way you look at it. So could I ask for confirmation on when those meetings were, what was discussed, and are there any notes? Thank you.
Yeah, I can answer that, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like me to.
Yes, please.
I haven't got the dates in front of me, but I can let you know those. That's not a problem. In terms of what was discussed from our end, it was quite straightforward. In the I was basically talking about the plan that we've got, how we've done it, and the things that are in that, and so that others could see what we were working to, and that was kind of the extent of it, to be honest. There are, in terms of notes from those meetings, information, I probably do have some notes or minutes that have been sent to me from those, so I can circulate those, certainly.
Thank you.
I'll need to check what I've got, but I'll send you what I've got. I'll circulate them to members.
Mr. Mayor, could I add to Kevin's comments, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Right. But basically, it was a presentation. We were asked by the Parish and Borough Working Group, I think it's called, might have got the names wrong, if we could present what we've done. And then we were asked, I think, by the Climate Emergency Borough team, I think it was, to effectively repeat the presentation. So in terms of what was discussed, it was really just clarifying any of the points in the presentation that weren't clear. And I think what will address this, Councillor Jewell, is if that presentation is circulated to all councillors, so you can see what that was. So basically that was what it was all about. We were asked to present, and that's what we did, Kevin and I.
Mr. Mayor, what would address the issue is actually having a meeting so that we can discuss it. There's one other member on this council as part of that working party. Don't know whether he is actually getting any more information than I am, but we're totally in the dark. And if it wasn't for Kevin and the staff making really, some great effort to do something about the carbon footprint, do things, we wouldn't be doing anything. So I don't think that those notes alone will address the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the minutes of the Borough Parish Working, the Borough Parish Forum are reported to full council. I think everybody has, I think they've been in an agenda and everybody will have seen those, but that's just for the Borough Parish meeting, not for the Woking and Borough Council meeting. Just that those are circulated.
Okay. Any other comments?
Councillor Chadwick has a hand up, Chair.
I just wanted to say that, yes, I remember seeing a note that the presentation was given in the now called bulk minutes, but I suppose the actual presentation obviously wasn't included, because you wouldn't, would you? But, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. So there's no more points on that. We move on to item 9. Results of the precepts consultation. Should be the town clerk, but Kevin is going to substitute
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Again, just to note, really, there's quite a lot of information, statistical information there in that report, which I think gives some more flesh to the bones of how the survey was carried out, particularly, which I think is quite helpful. It needs reading through, and it should be fairly self-explanatory. But if there's any questions, I'll try and answer them. But I think the information there should be fairly straightforward. But happy to help if I can. Councillor Heath.
Just before you open a discussion, can I add that this paper or this document has been circulated to all councillors when the press release went out. This is really just the formal process of coming through the full council meeting.
Yeah, sure. So
Councillor Heap has a question, Chair.
Yes. Can I ask how much it cost? Could I also ask, was it possible, given the returns that we had, to actually calculate which of the bands was, if you like, most popular? So could we get a specific numerical answer from those different returns that we received? And did it play a part in determining what the budget, what the precept was for the next year? So was it actually made use of in those terms? Thank you.
Could I answer that one, please, Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I'm involved in this. I'm not quite sure, Councillor Heap, whether when you talk about bands, are you talking about bands of the option or of bands A, B, C, D, etc.?
Well, the options that they were given.
Okay.
I'm just trying to work out whether you could come to one answer from all those different bits of information.
Well, okay, so page 62, table 2, has a table with all the options and the number of responses. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that answers your first question. So the most popular one, which was nearly 45%, was the top one, which was the option D, which was something like £25 extra a year. In terms of was it used? Absolutely, it was used. In fact, in reality, what was more used or more useful was the comments that came along, to be perfectly honest. You know, it's one thing to say this is what people are willing to pay, but when you actually see people saying you have to do reserves, it tells you two things. One, that they're sending you a message, which we were responding to all the time, or the council was responding, that we were using reserves. And two, you weren't getting your message out. The council wasn't getting that message out. So absolutely, it was a critical piece in there. I don't know, Kevin, if you want to add anything to that.
Only the question about the cost. I'm not sure, so I'll find out and tell you rather than have a guess and it not be right. I'm not sure.
Thank you. The reason I asked the first question was that, yes, the most popular option was D, but 1,009 people went for that. But you would infer from the returns that 1,336 people did not want that because they wanted lower rates. Now that's why I asked the question, maybe to be considered if we do future surveys of this sort, is to try and work out some way of assessing from that what was actually most popular. So 1,009 said yes to D, but 1,336 effectively said no. So something to be thought about when we do, if we do this in the future.
So
Thank
if
you.
I can just clarify the thinking, if 1,009 opted for option D, it is reasonable to assume 1,009 also opted for C and B and A because it's lower.
Yes.
Hence my comment when I introduced the precept that 95.5% of the people or responses actually said I think it was £1.56 from memory. They were accepting a £1.56 per month, £1.56 per month, and we were doing 56p. So that was the assumption that if you would be willing to go for the higher, then it means you would also be willing to go something lower. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Skegg has his hand up, Chair.
Councillor Skegg.
Yeah, so I just I'm a bit late to the party on this one. I think I pretty could have asked this question some meetings ago, but it's kind of been mulling around in my head. The survey was conducted by HM Research. I was wondering did we come up with the question, or was it suggested by HM Research? And I suppose I don't want to lay a trap or anything, so I just come out with it. Is that I don't really like the question and how it's phrased, mainly because I don't think £1.09 a week is a particularly, what's the word, transparent illustration. I think if we'd have said a 50% increase, do you know what I mean? The response might have been different. I think the main value for me of it was an awareness raising campaign, and I think that was good. I think there was a value to that. But so I suppose my question is, did we pose the question, or was it suggested by HM? Was it Research? And might, if we do this sort of thing again, we reconsider the question?
I think I can help there. In terms of the way that it's phrased, I think that's something that we've chosen to do in that way, to try and frame it in a certain way. What we do and have needed the consultant to do is to advise us on some of the best ways to get that information. But in terms of the wording of the question, that was the council. So and yeah, there's different ways to ask a question. I would agree.
Yeah, I'd like to say, I mean, it's just for me, it's I always look out for that kind of thing. It's less than a cup of coffee a week type of statement always rings. The minute I hear that, I think, oh, it's £100 a year, that. And I just think, yes, I think the real value of it was raising awareness, and I think that objective was probably fulfilled quite well. If we do it again, I'd argue against that style of question, but that's a debate for another day. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Nagra has his hand up, Chair.
Councillor Nagra, can't see you.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I have two questions. First, on page 67, there are already written 1, 2, 3 questions. Can anybody answer these questions or not? On page 67, there are 3 questions. Is anybody interested in answering these questions or not?
Page 67 of the...
Page 67.
Right.
From second line, there are 3 questions.
If it helps, Mr. Mayor, I can very quickly, as long as we don't go into a debate,
yes,
I can provide very quick. Okay. Increase should be during COVID and only in reduced back afterwards. Totally agree. Council should use reserves. We are using reserves. Economies should be made to pay for the shortfall. Economies have been made.
Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you. It's page 67 and first question.
That's what I'm going through.
Oh,
that's
okay.
what I'm going through.
Okay.
Council tax has already increased a lot recently. No, it hasn't. The town council tax has actually reduced from in 2013-14 levels. Council tax is too high already. We pay some of that. That is correct. And the Conservative group has been working since 2013-14 to reduce it. And we have managed up until this pandemic year, reduce it to a level below 2013-14. And if you take it in real terms, it's actually about 35% below what it was in 2013-14. They don't use the facilities, should not have to pay for them. We work, well, this country works on, I think it's called universal payment. You know, I've never had children, yet I pay for schools, etc. That's just the way this country works. So if you don't use a facility, then you still have to pay some subsidy on it. Woking Borough Council should give a greater financial share to Woodley. You've heard my comment. It's the same as Councillor Jules in the past, as she made tonight. So very quickly, there's your answers. Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Doyle has his hand up, Chair.
All right, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you very much. I just want to point out that Councillor Baker keeps quoting 95%. Do you not mean 95% of the 20% that responded?
As per 16C, I'm not going to answer. Standing order 16C.
I just want to point out
answer. It is a specious and spurious question. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like poetic license with numbers, but if you were trying to call a trade union out on strike, you wouldn't be allowed to on that basis.
As I said, I'm not going to answer. As standing order 16C, I'm allowed not to answer. Thank you.
Councillor McCann has his hand up, Chair.
Councillor McCann.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Chair. I think the value of this is actually really important. I think the questions the leader has asked and the Conservatives have asked is wrong. I think their method of evaluating the answers are wrong. And if we were to use the leader's own logic, 95% of the people didn't vote for what he said he's going to bring forward in the budget. I think if you're going to ask the public to participate in evaluating the quality and value of services that they wish to pay for themselves, it would be reasonable to include an option that would actually be applied later instead of justifying the current precept today that's been voted on by saying, oh, it was under everybody else. All the other options, well, quite frankly, that's a ridiculous point. If they were serious about it being value for money, then that should have been one of the options there. And if that was the case, then only less than 5% of the population who answered these questions actually agreed with the Conservatives budget that it should be very little increase. And 95% disagreed. They think there's not enough. So I think you really are, you're asking the wrong question. You're justifying your budget precept spuriously. And as far as the point of we're reducing the council tax by 35%, don't forget you've just had 1,000 more houses in Woodley. That's done more to reduce your council tax budget than any Tory will ever do. So maybe the point is the Tories want to vote for more houses, which cuts the budget, and the councils then they can pat themselves on the back and say, haven't we done a fantastic job? Thank you very much.
Right.
Councillor Nagra has his hand up, Chair.
Again?
Yeah, I just want to make one point. Councillor Keith Baker has just refused to give answer to a question, and he has quoted section order 16 and subsection C. I just want to remind him that he can refuse to answer as a chairman. This is full council meeting, and he is not chairman here. He is a member and a councillor.
Right. Thank you. If that's everything to say on that, I'll move on to the next item, which is the town electors meeting. There's been a change in the legislation, which means that it's now not a legal requirement to hold the meeting, the electors meeting. So we have to make a decision. Does anybody have any questions on that? Because I'll ask Kevin to go through the legal stuff behind the scenes if we need to. But if there are no questions, we can just move to the vote.
Councillor Jewell has a hand up, Chair.
Yeah, I can't see a hand.
Okay, thank you. It's talking about whether or not we should hold the town electors meeting. It's what it comes down to, it, whether or not we're read to the legal side of it. Of course we should. We're here to answer to our electors, and we should take every opportunity to do that. Coronavirus, well, it did for the first few months, but it hasn't stopped us meeting as a council with our standing committees for council, etc. And I see no reason why it should stop us having a town electors meeting. I think we've had enough of people not being allowed to voice opinions tonight. We certainly shouldn't repeat that for our local residents.
Of course, it'll have to be a virtual meeting.
Councillor Skegg has his hand up, Chair.
All right, Councillor Skegg.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I was almost surprised we were going to discuss it, because I think it's clearly we've got to have it, haven't we? The last town electors meeting, which, if we cast our minds back to, was I think universally felt to be pretty poor. And at the end of it, if I remember, Councillor Baker sort of, quite emotionally, feeling that the town hadn't engaged with it, and we asked the question of ourselves, how can we make it more accessible? And I wonder if this is just that opportunity to say, hey, let's make this more accessible, and let's just try one thing that's different. And I don't know what the format of that would be, but it kind of just strikes me as maybe it opens us up to a different audience. And I'm quite passionately keen. I suspect it won't be well attended, and I think we all know that, but you got to try, haven't you? And I just wanted to say my piece on that quickly before we launch into it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councillor McCann has his hand up, Chair.
Yes, Councillor McCann.
Thank you. I think exactly the same as my two colleagues. Yes, we should have it. We should definitely invite the public, and it should be a Zoom meeting. For the reasons that have been said before. I think, if anything, the town council should be trying to find and explore any way to engage with the public and the residents whom we represent. if the last item has shown anything, it is that there is a large diversity of opinions and aspirations for what Woodley can have, should have, and could even afford. So inviting the public in at every opportunity should be taken and grasped with both hands by this council. And whether or not we need to make a formal proposal and have it seconded that we continue and we have a Zoom meeting, I'll pass that back to the chair for his suggestions.
Well, I think that the agenda clearly states that we have make a decision, vote for having the meeting or against having the meeting. There's no need to go any further in forms of a proposal.
Councillor Baker has his hand up, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks.
Can I draw everybody's attention to the fact that the 2nd of March is only a couple of weeks away? If we're going to do a radical change from the way it's been done historically, because it started with the Liberal Democrat when they were in control, and when we took control, we continued exactly the same format. I don't think we have enough time to change that format. And can I remind everybody that format is each chairman of the various standing committees speaks for 15 to 20, could even be 30 minutes, giving a summary of what happened over the year. So to be perfectly honest, and you're right, I'm very passionate. I think we need to do it, but I don't think the way that the Lib Dems and the Conservatives, which is exactly the same, so it's not a party political thing, we've both done the same, doesn't work. For the last 3 town council meetings, I think there was 1 or 2 residents. All the rest were councillors or political activists. And they asked various interesting questions. That is not engaging the residents. And what I would propose, because if the full council says votes to say we do it, then the only way we can do it, as far as I'm aware, will be to do in exactly the same format, which is a failed format from both the Conservative group and the Liberal Democrat group. It failed. It failed when they were in control. It failed when we're in control. The alternative is, because I don't think we're going to get because it's teams, etc., we're going to get that many what I call residents rather than political activists here, or candidates for borough council, for instance, let's be honest, from all sides. What I would like to do is to propose, and I know it's not on this schedule, but wherever the appropriate council, or sorry, standing committee we would do it in, I'm not sure, Deborah was here, she could tell us, but we actually set up a small working group to address this specific issue of how do we engage residents in a town electors meeting? Because I don't know the answer. Councillor McCann doesn't know the answer. Councillor Skegg doesn't know the answer. We have ideas, but what I would like to do on a cross-party basis, non-political basis as well, that we had a small working group. I'm quite happy not even to be on it, if that helps making it non-political, right? Well, Tom says he's not going to be on it either because he just put his thumb up. But ready for next year, because one of the things I've talked to Deborah about, the town clerk, I would love to see some sort of Q&A. I think that's far more valuable than standing there and say, this is what we did in January, this is what we did in February, etc. It's the biggest turn-off for residents you could possibly get. So for me, I think we shouldn't have it this year, but we put something in place to make sure we have something that works, or hopefully will work next year. Thank you.
Chair, can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Could we have some information on, is there a time restriction? The legislation allows that we don't have to have it on the 2nd of March, as the leader has just said, but we could have it on the 2nd of May. we could have it on the 31st of April or whatever date we choose to do it at. So I don't really say that, I don't think, it's my understanding, the legislation says we have to have it on X or Y day. We could set it for 6 weeks from now and perfectly easily change the format between now and then. Is that right? Through the committee or committee officer, thank you.
If I could just say that the 2nd of March is the agreed scheduled date. That's why we have the 2nd of March. That was the date that was agreed when the meeting schedule for this current year was agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. My question was, can we move it? There is no statutory requirement for the 2nd of March. We can move it to the 2nd of April, should we choose. We can move it to the 2nd of May, should we choose. Am I correct in that? Yes. That's my question. Thank you.
I think we could move it and we can cancel it. It's all the options are open effectively. So, well, we have to progress on to the vote. Do we continue with the meeting on the 2nd of March? Or I suppose we could either cancel the meeting or reschedule it, but I think we should raise the question of rescheduling it as a separate item for another meeting, because people need time to consider the proposed date.
Mr. Mayor, once we debate or vote on that item at the bottom of page 2, we've kind of cancelled the meeting. I would propose an amendment to that we carry on with the meeting, but we do have a look at a different date to allow time to put things together.
Carry on with the meeting, then the meeting will occur on the 2nd of March. So
could you repeat that, please?
Done deal then.
Sorry, could you repeat what you just said?
If you vote to have the meeting on the 2nd of March and then consider the date for it, it'll be a past event by the 2nd of March, and then you can't then
exactly
proposed date.
Exactly, yeah. Which is why I'm proposing that instead of voting on what we have on the paper, is that we vote for propose an amendment for a town electors meeting at a date of our choice to give us time to organise it.
Mr. Baker, Councillor Baker.
Yeah, I think that's complicating it, because if we're going to do it on a later date, in essence, you're cancelling it on the 2nd of March. Now, I agree on the later date. Don't have a problem with that. You know, historically, it had to be between the 1st of March and the 1st of June. If you look in the agenda, it says that there quite clearly. So we do have time, to Councillor McCann's, to do it later, but that buys time to work out on a cross-party basis what we think we need to do. So I think we should continue doing this 2nd of March, vote on the 2nd of March, and I would vote against it because I don't think there's time enough to reschedule it in terms of, reconfigure it in terms of agenda and what goes on. There isn't really enough time, but set up this working party or whatever you want to call it as soon as possible to come up with ideas ready for probably, if it's 1st of June, so it will be back end of May to do this. I think that gives us plenty of time to get the right, the best option of how we do this. Because if we insist on doing it on the 2nd of March, it's just going to be the chairman of the councils, chairman of the standing committees, standing there for 30 minutes, doing a load of, this is what we did in January, this is what we did in February, etc., which we've done for the last 30 years. So I think I'm agreeing with you, Councillor Jewell, that we need to do it, but not on the 2nd of March, and we need to do something different.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, what I'm concerned about is that we're not allowing ourselves to do anything different if we vote on what we have here. If Councillor Baker is putting forward a suggestion, recommendation, if you like, that we look at holding the town electors meeting this year, but on a different date, then I think it would make the vote on the first part much easier. I don't want it to be lost in the machinations of voting on what we have at the moment.
So unfortunately, Deborah's not here to advise us, but I'm asking Kevin and Linda, if we make sure it's minuted, the outcome of this conversation, that we'll have it later, I think that should be sufficient because it's in the minutes. And I know plenty of you would, you're always hot on the minutes. You said you were going to do this, or we were going to do that. What's happened? So would that be a way of moving it forward, Linda?
If I could just say, if you are going to hold a town electors meeting, it would have to be before the 1st of June. If it is going to be held, it has to be between those dates. Just to bear that in mind.
Okay. Are there any other comments? So I think we're in a situation where we have to vote on the 2nd of March date.
Councillor Rowland has a hand up, Chair.
Councillor Rowland.
Chairman, it's surely not beyond our wit to come up with a form of words that says we're not proposing to hold a meeting on the 2nd of March, but we are proposing to meet at a time to be determined and in a format to be determined between the 2nd of March and the June date that Linda said, and that we will look at the format of the meeting in a small cross-party working party. I'm sure somebody could make some sense out of those words that we could vote on, so that we're not ending this by saying we're not meeting on the 2nd of March and it's a formal proposal.
I was suggesting exactly that, not on a vote, but in the minutes.
Yeah.
If it's in the minutes, that reflects the view, rather than go through a formal proposing second voting. That was all I was suggesting, making it simpler.
Yeah, that's fine, Keith, so long as we've got it noted that that's what we intend to do.
I can minute that.
Okay, if Linda could minute that, and we can. I don't know what the right procedure would be here, because we need to vote to not have the vote on the meeting on the 2nd of March, but then we don't have anything in its place.
I think,
Mr. Mayor, that would be covered by the minutes. So we should just vote simply on what's in the agenda to effectively, do we cancel the 2nd of March? I think we're all in agreement, and the minutes will reflect the discussion. We'll have another, so we'll have a town electors before the 1st of June.
Can I just ask, do we need to vote on whether a working party is going to be set up or not? Kevin, what do you think?
At some point that should be agreed, whether that's now or at the future meeting. So it would make more sense to do that now, I guess.
So that would be 2 votes then. One to cancel the meeting currently scheduled for the 2nd of March.
Yeah.
And then a second vote to set up a working party to holding a meeting before the 1st of June.
Everybody happy to proceed on that basis?
Yeah.
Okay, can we then vote? Shall we cancel the meeting for the 2nd of March as the first vote? So I have hands for those who wish to cancel the meeting.
Okay, that's 21, including Councillor Forer.
Okay, any against?
No one.
And any abstentions?
None.
Okay, so as an alternative, it's been proposed that we set up a working group.
Does that need to be, sorry, does that need to be proposed and seconded, that a working party be set up? I think someone should propose that.
Well,
I'm
yeah, I'll allow that. I think can I have a proposer to put forward the idea of a working party?
I'm happy to propose that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
And I'm
I'll
happy to
second that.
second that.
Harold?
So,
And
and
who?
I'll second it as shows the cross party.
So can we have?
And just before you go, Mr. Mayor, I'm sure somebody will complain, or not complain, will question what standing order we're doing this under. And so it is 13A 9. 13A9 standing order to appoint a committee or subcommittee or any councillors.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So can I have a vote to proceed as to set up the working party? How many?
Councillor Ferreira's got his hand up as well, by the way.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, that's 20 with Councillor Forer.
Okay, and any against?
No one?
And any abstentions?
None.
So we set up the, do we need any dates for that? Was that in the thing? We're setting them working party, so. Okay,
Oh, Councillor Doyle has his hand up, Chair. Sorry, just noticed.
Yeah, we voted to cancel the 2nd of March. We voted to have a working party.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that it's minuted that it is the council's intention to hold this meeting before the deadline of June.
Yeah, that was, it's agreed that that would be minuted. That's already been agreed that that would be minuted.
And has the council agreed that they will hold a meeting before the end of June?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, fine.
We've agreed that we will set up a working party to look at holding the meeting before the 1st of June. That was what I was asked a minute, and then we have agreed to that. So
Fine, that's great. That's fine. Thank you.
Right. Check the time. Well, we've only got 3 minutes before the scheduled end time. So first we need to extend the meeting if we can continue. So can I have a proposer to extend the meeting till 10:30?
Mr. Mayor, I'm very happy to propose that we extend the meeting.
Okay, seconder.
Yes, I'll second, Alex.
Okay, votes then for extending the meeting till 10:30.
that's 20, including Councillor Forer.
Okay, against extending?
None.
And abstentions?
None.
Okay, so
That's
we
agreed.
proceed with the next item, special motion. The special motion has been put forward. I need to invite somebody to propose this special motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'm proposing and Councillor Brindley is seconding.
Okay, thank you. And
Can I speak to the motion now, please?
yes,
Or-
I'd like to introduce it.
Thank you.
Point of order, Chair.
Sorry?
What standing order? What standing order?
Yeah.
What standing order, point of order?
12. If you were to stop interrupting me, I was actually going to quote the standing order. Standing order 12 says motions requiring written notice. Can the officers tell us what day and time item 11 was filed and item 12. And would it be normal custom and practice for the council to keep a record of such acceptance of motions, and are they actually in sequence of when they were actually given in? Is what I'm trying to find out, because it's not clear. And sorry, yeah, thank you.
I could answer that. This motion has been not put forward under Standing Order 12, but under 35B, as it says in the agenda, and they are in the order in which they were received. It's a special
Thank you. Okay. The special motion, yes, sorry, but the other one does is a normal one. Would it be better or easier for members to know when they were actually filed? Because if you don't file it in the right time, the officers can actually say no. But just because some of the meetings have been quite fractious, some of the meetings have gone on beyond their normal expected time limit, and with that likely to happen in the coming months, it may help if we actually put down the dates of when these were received, just so that it could save any future confusion. Thank you very much. The answer to that is yes, just to help.
I can't respond to that. Obviously, it's the town clerk who received the motion. So
yeah. My answer, yes, was to the chair. The answer to my question should be yes, Tom. We can do that if we wish to. Chair.
I was waiting to see what was said.
Can I start?
Yes.
Thank you. Right. First of all, can I thank sincerely Councillor Nagra, who brought this issue to Council's attention. Recognising that the standing orders were not crystal clear on this matter, my immediate reaction was that all councillors, regardless of their party, would be enthusiastic to get that relevant standing orders amended. So I drafted the text in our special motion in the agenda and asked all parties to support it. The response from the Liberal Democrats was, I will consider your proposals with the aim of achieving both transparency and democracy. I never heard any more from them. The response from Labour concentrated on suggesting all chairmen should not be allowed to speak during any debate they are chairing. They completely ignored the issue around standing orders, not specifically stating that councils can speak at debates, but at least my group knew exactly what the Labour group wanted. I do note the difference in approach of both of these parties around the lack of clarity in standing orders on the Working of Urgency Committee. Here they are falling over themselves to amend standing orders. I fully expect all the Liberal Democrats and Labour councillors to abstain on this vote, which makes a total mockery of their constant comments about working together. I urge them to prove me wrong and join my group in supporting the amendment. Thank you.
does the seconder reserve the right to speak later?
Thank you, seconder.
Yes, Chair.
Oh,
Yeah,
Councillor Budley. Do you wish to speak or reserve your speaking for later?
I reserve my right to speak later.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you.
Has anybody got anything to say on this item?
Councillor McCann has his hand up, Chair.
Okay, Councillor McCann.
Thank you. The reason why this has come about is that the chairmanship of the committees in this council are quite frankly appallingly led. Whether this is a training issue, a skills issue, or just political blindness, I'm not really sure about. I know there is a certain level of arrogance in a leader who continually interrupts people while they are trying to interrupt him, which quite frankly shows rudeness. It is, did you get it? Anything that stops the chairman of strategy and resources from constantly chucking his tuppence worth in to everything that everybody else says at the committee shows a lack of understanding of what the role of chairmanship should be, could be, and would be. The leader of the council has brought this on himself. We would be quite happy to run, as we have done for the last 30 or 40, actually since 74, I believe, where the chairmanship chairs the meeting, instead of which the current chair of strategy and resources constantly interrupts members when they're speaking, constantly gives his tuppence worth on his opinion on what the other members are talking about. And in fact, you would cut short probably by at least an hour if the chairman actually stopped chirping his or her tuppence worth. It just happens to be Keith Baker at the minute. It is a shame that we have gotten to the point where members are actually pulling up standing orders to stop him speaking. That's how bad it's got. And your group, as Conservatives, really need to reflect on this. Forget the politics, put that to one side. This is just chairmanship. It shows a lack of skill. It shows a lack of respect for other members who, while you may not agree with their opinion, they are entitled to have their opinion. They're entitled to express it in a reasonable and consistent manner without being interrupted. And if a member interrupts the chair, then it's probably because the chair is talking too much through the meeting. Yourself this evening have shown reasonable skill levels, Chair, at not constantly chucking your views and opinions in. Yet from the sidelines, the leader of the council is constantly chucking in his tuppence worth and giving direction, acting as a pseudo chairman. And I believe he does it at other committee meetings as well. If the ruling group want to change standing orders, this is one of the least standing orders that need to be amended. You have standing orders which are in conflict, you have protocols which conflict standing orders. You have delegated powers which are in direct conflict to your financial regulations. Your financial regulations haven't been approved since 2015, when they're supposed to be forget the statutory, you're supposed to be reviewing them every 3 years. They haven't been done since 2015. This shows a willful neglect of the ruling group's ability to manage, control the council's business. It shows a lack of respect for other political views. When the Labour group say we want to speak at a meeting, the chairman continually refuses to allow them to speak. That's shocking. And then should they be ungrateful enough to dare to ask a question on the minutes, the chairman of the full council says, well, you had your chance at the committee meetings. It is ridiculous. It is appalling. And quite frankly, I think the Conservative group really should reflect on how they're running the committees. And if it's a skills issue, then fair enough, go get some training. I would say the same sort of thing to any other members of the Liberal Democrat group who constantly chucked in. It's not a good way of running a meeting, and people will get annoyed. People will get irate because they are being blocked out of meetings. They are being obstructed by the chair, and he may every now and again say, let's work together politically. He's talking nonsense, absolute nonsense. At the drop of a hat, he will chuck in, I'm the leader, I think that this, and all you lot vote like sheep. It's just a shame. But quite frankly, I would vote for anything to shut Keith Baker up. Thank you.
Thank you. Just in time.
Councillor Nagra has his hand up, Chair.
Yes, first of all, I want to say thank you to Keith Baker for his partial attention. If he remembers, I pointed out two flaws in two different tools. One related to urgency committee, which I pointed out in second week of December. And then this one about which he has just proposed a motion. Regarding first one, he didn't show any interest. He didn't take any action. Obviously, I don't know. He's not much interested. His little knowledge about council rules is very dangerous for this council. Although it's approved today, but I want to say that regarding my question today, he said that he has moved a motion according to Standing Order 5B, but although it's approved, this section order says that there should be a resolution along with reasons. There is no reason to convert public meeting into a confidential meeting. There is a big question mark. Whatever is discussed in that confidential meeting, whatever decisions are taken in that confidential meeting, are these legal or not? I am not a legal expert, so I can't answer. But according to this section order, this is my opinion, and I was not allowed to speak at that time. Here, Kevin, I need your attention. Kindly check page 26.
Of what, sorry?
Page, Woodley Town Council rules, page 26.
Standing orders.
Standing orders, yes.
Yeah. Well, called by their right name.
And on page 26, there is a point 6. According to this point 6, all those councillors who are not members of any committee, they have right to speak at the meeting, and even they can speak and participate in a discussion about a motion. Am I right, Kevin?
Yeah, the rest of it says with the express permission of the chairman in relation to a specific committee.
Yes, if it's allowed by chairman. So I just want to ask, if today's amendment is approved just like this, all these councillors who are not members of any committee, will their rights be affected, or they are allowed to participate and speak in motions and ask questions?
I believe from reading the motion, the last bit there, it says any councillor, including both the mayor and chairman, can speak in the debate, so it wouldn't preclude.
It says as long as they are members of the committee where the debate is taking place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because this section which I'm pointing out, it says that those councillors who are not members of that committee,
it says they can speak with the permission of the chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, so that hasn't changed.
The question which I'm asking is that if this amendment just proposed by Keith Baker, if it's approved, will it stop those councillors? Because this section even give them right to be a part of a motion discussion, even if they are not members.
No, I think that this is an addition to that, so it doesn't negate what's already in there in relation to.
No, because we had
very to speak if they to have permission of the chair.
Yeah, we had very bad experience with the Resources Committee chairman. That's why I'm asking. And also Keith Baker said that we rejected his proposal. It's not true. In my email, I suggested that trust your own party members. Let's see what's happening in other committees.
Councillor Nagra, your time is up.
Okay.
Your 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Skegg has his hand up, Chair.
Yeah, so I think I genuinely a little bit conflicted on this one, because I think I understand the motive behind it. And I think when I look at it, there's a relatively small number of us when you compare us to a large council. An elected member takes up a chairmanship post and then is unable to speak, and that kind of feels a bit difficult. I think my thoughts around it, and particularly in Zoom time, have been around the challenges of chairing a meeting. I think, the mayor would probably back me up on this, but it's not been an easy time to chair a meeting. I don't think he's enjoyed it enormously. Apologies if I've misread that. And I wonder whether or not this opens that wider question of, if this format of meeting is to continue, whether or not the assistance to the chairman needs to be greater and more formalized from the officers in organizing the order of speaking or something to that effect. Now, I genuinely, I can't decide where to go with this, so I don't know. You'll find out in a minute, I suppose. But I did think making that point, I think it has been difficult to chair meetings in this format. I know our in-person meetings haven't always been the most happy and free-flowing ordeals, but I think it's been embarrassing at times, knowing the world might be watching us as Woodley Town Council, not as much as some of our other councils. But I wonder whether or not, as an offshoot, whichever way this goes, that we might look at the assistance given to the chair in meetings, if they're to continue on Zoom particularly. And the other thing I just wanted to say was, I think Councillor Wicks has done a fine job in planning. So thank you very much. But that's all I've got to say there.
Councillor Doyle has his hand up, Chair.
Thank you very much. I noted that Councillor Nagra made a point about the motion states that the chair has the authority to say that members of people that are not members of that committee, he can state that they're not able to speak. Now, in my experience, this has become standard practice. Up until this point, the chairs of committees have stopped people talking or asking questions at committee meetings. Now, I'd like to know from the officers that are present here, does that apply to the public as well?
From the officers.
So in terms of the public being able to ask a question?
I'm a Woodley resident. If I go to a committee meeting, can the chair ask me not to speak or not to ask a question?
You have no right to speak unless invited by the chair.
Right. And this rule that you're trying to apply here will stop me going to a meeting of which I'm not a member, and stop me being able to ask a question.
You're not allowed to anyway.
No.
Right, okay. That's the way it's going to work, is it?
It's been the way it's always worked.
It wasn't working that way until about a month ago.
It's always been that way.
Mr. Mayor, I think Linda might be able to help.
Councillor Doyle, I don't think it's stopping anybody speaking at the meeting. It's just saying that people are allowed, because I think there's an omission, or people have pointed out there's an omission in the standing orders that doesn't actually say specifically that people can speak at the meeting, even the committee members. So what they're saying is the motion says...
No, it says that they have to be a member of that committee.
No, it's saying that the councillors who are a member of the committee can speak, but the protocol on, well, my page numbers are different to yours. I think it's page 26 in your standing orders.
Yeah.
Just say that other people can speak with the permission of the chairman. That wouldn't change.
Right. But what if the chairman never gives anyone permission other than members of the committee?
That's a prerogative of the chairman. I mean,
because that's become standard practice.
Well, I'm just saying that won't change. It's
right.
But the actual the proposal isn't going to change the ability of other people to speak. That would still be the same.
Yeah, so basically what we've got is a load of Tories that run all the committees that say you can speak and you can't. Democracy is a load of rubbish, isn't it? Sorry, that's not pointed at you, Linda. I didn't mean to point that at you.
Are there any other points? Lost the thread of where we're supposed to be now.
Okay.
So the second reserved her right to speak to.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's the right of every elected councillor who are part of or members of a particular committee to be able to debate and take part in debates in the meeting. He or she, irrespective of if they're chair or not, are still representing their constituents. And they should be able to have the right to take part in debates. It's simple as that. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're just saying that they should have the right to speak as part of the debate. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move for a vote.
The proposer has the right to speak.
Yes, of course.
At
Yeah.
the end of the debate.
Have you get any more to say, Keith?
I'll just say, I guess I'm no longer on Councillor McCann's Christmas card list.
There's plenty of time for that to be corrected.
Chair, can I ask for a recorded vote on this, please, Chair? Just so, and by the way, I don't send me mum a Christmas card. It's not because I'm tight, it's just, but
Yes.
I'll think of you every Christmas.
So you want the names recorded for the vote. Those in favour of the motion, can I have a show of hands?
Can you bear with me just a moment, Chair? Councillor Jewell had a hand up as well. I just need to make sure that hands are up
sorry,
for
I
the
didn't
right
see.
reason.
Councillor Jewell.
I was going to move that we go to the vote under Standing Order 14AJ, but it looks like we are, so I
We
will.
are moving to the vote, so
Okay, it will take me a while to do the recorded vote, so please.
Yes,
Yeah.
if everyone could keep their hand up when they...
those in favour of the motion to and I'll put my hand up in with this if I can find out what to do. Yeah.
And can I ask, is
Councillor
Councillor
Forrer,
I can't see him. Is he voting?
Varies. Councillor Foray, are you voting for?
Yes, he's had. He's got his hand up. That's
Voting for.
okay. Right. So can I just check? Okay, I've got all those. That's 15.
Right. Okay. Can I have those votes against? Six.
Okay, that's 6. I've got those.
Six, right. Are there any abstentions?
Actually, no, there's...
Councillor Skegg.
Okay, that's 1. I've got that one. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so that was 15-4. So that's carried.
So the motion is carried.
Yeah.
Item 12 now. We've only got 5 minutes, so we may or may not finish this. It depends on performance. Can I invite a proposer for the motion and a seconder for the second motion proposed by Alf Sanjari, Nagra Doyle and things, but who's going to be the proposer?
Chairman, very quickly, can I ask a procedural question? When it gets to 10:30, is it the case that all debate stops and we go straight to the vote, please?
I believe that's
Not necessarily. No, when we get to 10:30, the debate stops. You can call a vote before then if you want to, if someone wants to. It can't continue after 10:30.
No, I was just after 10:30.
Yeah, 10:29 we can vote, but not later. Okay, well, can I have a proposer, please?
Councillor Nagra has his hand up. Is that to propose, Councillor?
Okay, Councillor Nagra.
Yes, I'm going to propose this motion, and it's regarding amendment in standing
I
orders.
second it.
Yes.
Councillor Doyle, was that?
Yes.
Okay.
So this motion, I'm presenting this motion in best interests of Woodley residents and those councillors who are not members of the urgency committee, so that they can participate, councillors can participate, and public members, they can attend meetings of the urgency committee. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Councillor McCann has his hand up.
Excuse me, just a second. I reserve the right to speak later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll speak later.
Okay.
Okay, and then
Councillor McCann has his hand up, Chair.
Thank you.
Something to say.
Thank you. Sorry, I can't see if I'm on or not. Okay, thank you. It is a shame that this council has got itself into the position where members are having to change standing orders in order to reflect the new political reality, that the ruling group will do anything and everything to keep oppositional eyes off of whatever is going on within the council. It is a disgrace. It is a shame that they haven't altered this themselves when this came before the council a few months ago. I hope the council is now coming to its sense and realises that whether members mean to or not mean to frustrate the council's business, it is because members are extremely frustrated that they're being excluded and precluded from doing what they see as a civic duty to represent their communities. It may be from a slightly different...
Mr. Mayor, I'm very sorry to interrupt, but I would like to move under Standing Order 14AJ, little 4, to put the motion to the vote in view of the time we have left, please. I don't want this to be deferred to another meeting. We need to get this sorted. It's very important.
I will second that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Okay. I'm quite happy if we're going to go to the vote, then fair enough, as long as we get the right decision, guys.
We only have 2 minutes before we go to the vote. I think, can I have show of hands in favour, those in favour of the motion?
That's 19, including Councillor Forer.
Okay. Do we need to...
Apologies, I was late putting my hand up.
Can we do it again? 4? Yeah. Can everyone vote 4 again, please? Okay, that's 20 with Councillor Forer.
Okay. Those against?
That's none.
And abstentions?
1. Oh, 2.
Yeah,
2 actually.
Yeah, 2. Okay, so that's carried.
Okay, that motion's carried. And that just about cuts us out of time. We got less than 10 seconds. So, the meeting's at an end.
Okay, we'll
Thank
carry
you,
the other
Chairman.
items forward.
Enjoy your retirement from being mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Linda, for all your hard work.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Linda.
Yeah, see you.
Good luck.
Don't be a
Good luck,
stranger.
Linda, and thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you very
Everyone
much.
appreciates all your
Yeah.
hard work.
Here, here.
Good luck, Linda.
Nice job, Linda.
And
Great.
Linda, your
And
hair
you can watch on YouTube and laugh.
I might have better